So in this video, we're covering some of the fundamentals of actually having your website set up. You need certain services. Those services are domains, are a domain name, hosting, and email. So those are three services. Here are my tips for when you are purchasing those services and getting them set up. So having a domain name and web hosting keeps you in control of your web property. So when a self-hosted WordPress website is set up, you're required to have your own domain name. You're required to have your own hosting. And if you're just starting, then a shared hosting plan will work perfectly for you, like a $5, $10, $15 sometimes hosting plan is okay. For increased stability, never host your email at the same place as your website. So this is one of the rules that I use for all of my websites that I'm setting up. Here's some of the technical recommendations I use, point by point. Number one, dissociate or separate your web services. Just like I said before, my recommendation is to never keep your email, your domain, and hosting at one company. Have several different companies that you use for this. Personally, I use Google or GoDaddy for domain names. For hosting, I am currently running a VPS through Known Host. And for email, I use G Suite. So Google does have 2 out of 3 of those services, but they run them as separate services. They run their G Suite as a completely separate service. And so I don't put my email especially in the same place where I'm hosting. That's a liability, and possibility always arises that in the future, if your host ever goes down, your email is down. Use WordPress friendly hosting. There is hosting out there that is WordPress friendly. And what that means is that this hosting is catered for WordPress websites. And so there are several hosts that I can recommend to anybody and say these are great hosts. And then there are hosts that I recommend people don't go to. The list that I'm going to show you includes both of them. And if you want my recommendations, I may indicate, which ones are better, but I just want to warn you that there are some hosts that are good and some hosts that are bad. Reach out to the WordPress community. And there's 3 ways that you can start reaching out to the WordPress community. You can start with Facebook groups. If you do a search for WordPress on Facebook and go to groups, the groups tab, you'll find lots of different WordPress groups. I run a WordPress group called Inland Empire WordPress Group, and there are many other WordPress groups that I'm a part of that I'm always connecting with these people in these WordPress groups, and then I'm seeing them in person at a local meetup, which is one of the last points that I put on there, but I'll segue into that because a local meetup group is a place where you can connect face to face with other WordPress developers in your city. And usually the WordPress meetup groups are located in cities. And here in Southern California, we have about 19 WordPress meetup groups. The other way that you can connect with the WordPress community is the .org forums. So if you go to wordpress.org, there are forums on the .org website that will allow you to ask your questions that you may have and get them answered there. So check out those resources. Whenever you're using or choosing domains or hosting, then make sure that you use the tips that I put out here and you'll be fine. And here's a short list of domains, hosting, and email provider. And that'll be it for this one. Next, we're going to cover initial setup.